At her own wedding, my sister grabbed the mic and said, "Nobody wants a single mom with baggage." The room laughed. I smiled to survive. Then her groom stood up, walked to the mic, and said, "I'm calling off this wedding." He took my son's hand and asked me to leave with him. That day I didn't just walk away from a wedding, I walked away from years of silence and shame. What followed, even I didn't see coming. My sister mockingly remarked, "Nobody wants a single mom with baggage" at her own wedding. The room was stunned by her groom's subsequent action, though. In our modest house on Bayview Street in Camden, Maine, I was seated at my desk. As the afternoon sun peeked through the shutters, it streaked across my messy desk. My rhythm, which kept me grounded as I hurried to complete a client's tax return, was the regular tapping of calculator keys. I had to pick up my kid, Ethan, from soccer practice in 20 minutes. Built with love and perseverance, this desk was my haven, strewn with coffee mugs, sticky notes, and a framed picture of Ethan's toothy smile. As a 35-year-old single mother, I had mastered the art of finding peace in the midst of mayhem. With his sandy blonde hair wet from jogging, Ethan jumped right in. "Are you finished yet, Mom?" He leaned against the doorframe and inquired, his mischievous green eyes gleaming. I said, looking at my chipped cup, "Almost, buddy. Finished your homework?" He waved a math assignment that was crumpled. "Yes, but I require assistance with history. The American Revolution, perhaps." I grinned. 10-year-old Ethan was my everything, not only because of his intelligence but also because of his heart. Every hardship was made worthwhile by the way he would give me a hug at the end of the day or leave drawings of spacecraft on my desk. Life has been quiet and resilient for the two of us since my dad's heart attack 5 years ago. It buzzed on my phone. I didn't have to search. I recognized it as Vivian, my mother. Her voice broke through. "Tomorrow's dinner is at my place. Vanessa's bringing her fiancé. You're coming, right?" There was no question. I answered, already preparing myself, "Yeah, I'll bring Ethan." She let out a sigh. "All right. Make sure he stays in line. Vanessa's time has come." Vanessa, her flawless existence, her flawless appearance, is the constant focus. "What is the job of her fiancé?" I inquired in a neutral tone. "Daniel Bennett. Financial counselor. Old money." With pride in her voice, Vivian remarked, "I graduated from Yale. He's ideal for her." I ignored her. Vivian's world consisted of luxury purses and immaculate smiles. I was just the prudent one, barely making ends meet to her. After hanging up, I looked at my laptop. Ethan buzzed from the adjacent room, most likely drawing once more. My chest hurt. He sensed Vanessa's lack of interest and Vivian's coldness. However, we continued. We were outside Vivian's Grand Victorian on Chestnut Street the following evening. With its stained glass and polished oak, it loomed like a museum. I gave Ethan a shoulder squeeze and adjusted his jacket. "Are you ready, child?" He gave a nod. Steady but wary eyes. "Mom, I'll be all right." My heart was tortured by that look, his silent armor. Vivian's smile was as rigid as her expensive gown as she opened the door. Verbally, "Ethan, you're running late." I said, "We're right on time," and entered. Roasted lamb and lavender candles filled the air. Sharp, polished laughter drifted out of the parlor. Vanessa's chuckle. Vivian said, "Come in," and slid off. Michelle and Vanessa are waiting. With a wine glass hanging from her manicured fingers, Vanessa relaxed on a velvet couch. Her clothing exuded luxury. When she spotted us, her smile was too big and she stood up. She remarked, "Claire, you made it," and then she hardly gave Ethan a look. And Ethan. The man next to her stood up. Tall and well-tailored, Daniel Bennett had dark hair that was brushed back. Vanessa put her arm through Daniel's and said, "This is him." Daniel smiled warmly and held out his hand. Verbally, "Nice to meet you." Something strangely familiar ignited in his hazel eyes as they met mine. I said, "Nice to meet you too," and shook his hand. He had a steady, firm grasp. He then looked at Ethan. "Hey dude, which grade do you currently hold?" "Fifth," Ethan muttered, hesitant yet intrigued. Daniel smiled and remarked, "My favorite grade was fifth," constructed a replica of the solar system for a science fair. In the middle of the lecture, Mars fell, complete catastrophe. Ethan relaxed and laughed. "I am performing a volcano. I hope mine doesn't explode." With a wink, Daniel remarked, "You'll crush it." Stunned, I watched. Ethan was never treated as like he mattered by anyone here. Vanessa cleared her throat. Verbally, "That's not what you're wearing to the wedding, is it?" Her amused eyes glinted as she looked at my jeans and blouse. I maintained a neutral expression. "I'll work it out." Vivian added her voice. "Dear, you weren't asked to be a bridesmaid." You're really preoccupied with your circumstances. I nodded despite my fingernails digging into my hand. Daniel's jaw tightened as he moved next to Vanessa, but he said nothing. I smiled slightly at him, not knowing why I thought he saw how restrained I was. With clinking glasses and Vanessa's wedding banter, the dinner went on and on. Under the table, Ethan's hand touched mine. We were all okay. Late evenings and never-ending lists dominated the weeks leading up to Vanessa's wedding. I was the unpaid planner, not simply a visitor. Vivian thought logistics was beneath her, while Vanessa was too preoccupied with dress fittings. So I took care of everything. Verifying caterers. Resolving flowery confusion. Programs for proofreading. I didn't voice any complaints. I learned how to control chaos with composure from my work in accounting. I did it for peace, for Ethan, and in the hopes that my family would at last see me. I sat in Vivian's study one evening, surrounded by RSVP cards and seating maps. The scent of ancient books and lilies filled the room. Daniel showed up with 2 mugs as I was fixing a guest's name. Coffee? He handed me one and offered. Thank you, I murmured, astonished. Sorting over Vanessa's guest list. By accident, she welcomed her former college adversary. He sat opposite me and laughed. This wedding is essentially being run by you. I gave a shrug. Someone must. His gaze hovered over my colored notes. This is amazing. I felt my cheeks get warmer. That's simply what I do. He studied me, leaning back. Have you ever had the impression that you know someone? Like déjà vu. With my pen hovering, I froze. Perhaps. Why? Are you acquainted with Emily? I guessed. Emily, you're brave and intelligent. 12 years prior, following my own health scare, I had met her while volunteering at a hospital. Her laugh was sunshine, even during chemotherapy. And her younger brother, who is constantly drawing rockets. I muttered, "You're Emily's brother." Daniel's expression grew softer. Remember. I will always remember her, I murmured, my voice trembling. She transformed me. I was 20, he muttered. On her darkest days, I would watch you read to her and cheer her up. Once you brought Ethan. He was small, illustrating stars for her. My eyes pricked with tears. She referred to him as her tiny astronaut. The atmosphere was laden with memories as we sat in silence. With gentleness, Daniel added, she loved you. Claimed that you were similar to a sibling. Claimed that you taught her how to live. I blinked vigorously. I never imagined seeing you again. Neither am I, he murmured softly. However, now that I have. His gaze was intense as he faded off. I turned my head aside, my heart racing. There was a change and I was afraid. My phone rang a few days prior to the wedding. My stomach turned over when I saw Daniel's name flash. With an urgent tone, he stated, Claire, I need to talk. You should be the maid of honor, please. I almost dropped the phone. Sophia didn't even ask me to be a bridesmaid, Daniel. I understand, he replied quietly. I informed her that it's crucial. Family is important. You are important. He spoke in a wave-like manner. Warm. Overwhelming. I said softly, I don't want to cause any trouble. I'll take care of it, he said. Just answer, yes. After hesitating, I muttered, all right. Vivian called the following morning. She spoke in an icy tone. What were you thinking, Claire? Vanessa is a complete disaster. This had to be all about you. Calmly, I responded, I didn't ask. Daniel did. She laughed. Obviously. You always pretend to be the victim. Keep your sister's day intact. Ethan was kicking a soccer ball in the yard as I looked out the window. Vanessa is free to declare if she doesn't want me. I'll take a back seat. That's not possible, Vivian yelled. Everyone has heard from Daniel. Avoid creating a scene. I ended the call. Doubt not at my shaky palms. But I was grounded by Ethan's laughter. For him, for me, for the opportunity to be seen at last, I would do this. I stayed up the night before the wedding. Vivian's words kept repeating in my head. Vanessa hadn't given a call. Hadn't sent a text. More painful than any insult was her quiet. However, I was tethered by Daniel's voice and his assurance that I mattered. I was reminded of why I kept battling by Ethan's gentle snores coming from the adjacent room. We would confront the flames tomorrow. The wedding at Camden's St. Thomas Episcopal Church was a picture of golden sunshine and white roses. For Vanessa's special day, every detail was ideal. Ethan and I arrived early. To fit in, I wore a basic yet exquisite sky blue outfit. Ethan held my hand in his little suit. Mom, you look fantastic, he muttered. I gave him a forehead kiss and said, thanks, buddy. Vanessa was a tornado of tulle in the wedding suite. Her veil caused her bridesmaids to complain. Her mouth was clenched as she hardly looked at me. With keen eyes, Vivian sat in the corner. That gown, she whispered. Excellent work. Unfazed, I grinned. My entire life I had heard clear. The sting has subsided. The ceremony got underway. I moved gracefully, not for Vanessa but for myself, as I stood behind her with her bouquet. My anchor was Ethan's proud smile as he sat in the front pew. From the altar, Daniel's kind nod attracted my attention. I gave it back, a silent exchange. Chandeliers glistened above linen-draped tables at the Camden Opera House reception. With her gown glistening, Vanessa accepted the microphone. She stated in a sweet voice, I want to thank my maid of honor, my sister Claire. As the guests applauded, I nodded. Then she changed her tone to one of venom. Or mother parenting a child by herself. So courageous, huh? To continue even if no one has ever truly loved her. The room froze. Some of them laughed uncomfortably. Is anyone interested in adopting? Vanessa grinned and continued. She is still available for purchase. Cruel, piercing laughter pierced through. Ethan's hand shook as it touched mine. I was having trouble breathing. Vivian stood with a savage grin. The silent one has always been our oral. Dependable, albeit uninteresting, but used products are still valuable. Even when a child is around. The giggling grew. My vision became hazy. But for Ethan, I managed to keep my composure. With my heart pounding, I stood up and prepared to leave. A chair made a loud scraping sound before I could move. Daniel got up. He blushed. The hands were clenched. There was silence throughout the ballroom. He walked confidently over to Vanessa, picked up the microphone, and looked out at the guests. I have something to say, he said, his voice brimming with rage. Vanessa chuckled uneasily. Daniel, what? He held up a hand to halt her. My wedding was scheduled for tonight. However, neither the flowers nor the vows are the most significant aspect of this situation. That's the reality. His eyes were burning as he gazed at me. His voice was firm as he stated, Claire and I didn't meet last month. My sister Emily was dying of leukemia when we first met, which was years ago. The crowd echoed with gasps. My heart thumping, I froze. Daniel added, Claire volunteered at the hospital. She brought songs, books, and hope. She was Emily's light and buddy. She also brought her 5-year-old son, Ethan, who made Emily smile till the very end of her life with his drawings. Ethan's gaze expanded. He tightened his hold on my hand. Daniel added, I never forgot them, as he turned to face Vanessa and Vivian. However, it wasn't relatives that I heard from you tonight. It was brutality. And I'm finished. Vanessa's expression fell flat. Please, Daniel. This wedding is being called off. There were whispers. There was a broken glass at the rear. Pale and shaking, Vivian stood. Daniel stated, I know exactly what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. Send the bill to me. I'm finished. He then approached Ethan and knelt next to him. Thank you for being the light you are, he added softly. He got up, walked over to me, and held out his hand. Come along with me. I accepted it. Ethan moved to stand next to me. Together we left, walking past the astonished guests, Vanessa's tears, and Vivian's scowl. We didn't turn around. We finally arrived at a restaurant on the water with a wooden deck that overlooked the surf under the moonlight. It was a brisk sea wind. Warm, gentle fairy lights twinkled over us. I was able to breathe for the first time in the day. Ethan sat between us, using one finger to trace designs on the table. His quiet was steady and composed. I was reminded of my father's constant presence by Daniel's quiet, protective tenderness as he watched him. Our meals remained unaltered. Daniel was the first to speak. His voice was rough as he apologized. For the speech. For the embarrassment. For all of their actions. I remarked, you don't apologize for their choices. You got up. That is sufficient. He glanced at me, then at his dish. I must explain myself to you. Why Vanessa and I were together. I didn't inquire. However, I paid attention. He remarked, I was lost after Emily died. Vanessa was lively, boisterous, and everything I wasn't. At first, at least, she drew me out of the dark. I gave a nod. I could relate to the urge for escape. But it diminished, he added. She didn't inquire about Emily. Never gave a damn about the important things. She seemed to be angry with you for being alive based on the way she spoke about you. Something softened behind his eyes as he turned to face me. Then it clicked when I saw you again. His cell rang. Vanessa. He put a stop to it. She will continue to call, I muttered. With more firmness, he declared, I'm done. My lawyer will speak with her. Looking up from his sketch, Ethan saw a lighthouse shining brightly into the night. He smiled slightly at us. Remember those drawings you made for Emily, Ethan? Daniel remarked softly. The planets and stars. After blinking, Ethan slowly nodded. She kept all of them, Daniel remarked. After she passed away, I discovered them. Claimed that they gave her the impression that she could still dream. With a hesitant smile tugging at his lips, Ethan looked down. He said, I still draw stars. Without pressing, Daniel extended his hand across the table. If it's all right with you, I'd like to see them sometime. Ethan turned to face me. I gave a nod. Something peaceful and complete started to take shape in that moonlit moment. It wasn't a rescue or a recovery, but it might have been the beginning of something genuine. The ones for the hospitalized woman? Ethan inquired quietly. Yes, Daniel replied with a smile. My sister was that person. They were near her bedside. She was pleased with you. Ethan's expression brightened. She stated I had a sense of humor. Daniel remarked that you were her hero. Below, the waves crashed. The quiet was familiar. We took a car the following morning to Mount Batty Cemetery, which is situated where the sea and undulating hills meet. The grass was softly lit by the sun as it passed through thick pines. Emily's gravestone only had her name and the phrase loved on it. Putting her favorite white daisies on the stone, Daniel knelt down. I took Ethan's hand as I stood behind him. Ethan then moved ahead. He took a tiny stone he had painted, a golden sun with stars on it, out of his jacket pocket. He knelt down to set it next to the flowers and whispered, I made this for her. I appreciate you finding my drawings appealing. Daniel's breathing became labored. I extended my hand and touched his arm. His voice was full with emotion as he continued, she'd love it. Hands clasped together, hearts wide open, we stood silent. Thank you for bringing us back together, I muttered to Emily as I closed my eyes. Like her laugh, a lovely, pleasant air stirred. Daniel grabbed my hand as we made our way back to the car. I didn't back off. The world seemed lighter. As if I had dropped a burden I was unaware I had been bearing. Ethan hummed to himself as he skipped along. I felt hopeful for the first time in years. For us, not just for me. A year later, I was standing outside the brick building with ivy winding down the walls of my new office on Camden's Main Street. Orly's Financial Services was written on the sign. My name is bolded. Daniel had demanded. People must understand who is responsible for the magic, he stated with a proud and kind smile. I own the office. Walls that are gray. A comfortable couch. Above my workstation, Ethan's drawings are proudly pinned. Everything was going smoothly. I was becoming more well-known. 11-year-old Ethan was taller. His soccer team's captain. His self-assurance blossomed. Our rock was Daniel. Even though he put in a lot of overtime, he never missed a game, a homework assignment, or a peaceful evening spent on the couch. Even though we weren't married yet, we were already related. Vivian and Vanessa were no longer in our life. Following the wedding controversy, Vanessa's social circle had become smaller. Quietly, her career stagnated. Vivian sent voicemails that were half blaming, half apologizing. I didn't return the call. Their poison had no place in my heart. The day was Christmas Eve. Twinkling lights filled our living area. Wrapped in a blanket, Ethan slept on the couch while daydreaming about the skateboard he had pleaded for. With warm chocolate mugs in our hands, Daniel and I sat by the fireplace. It was the ideal silence. Not a drama. Only us. Reaching into his pocket, Daniel moved. He produced a tiny package. This is what I've been waiting for, he remarked quietly. My heart skipped a beat. What is that? He opened the box. There was a gorgeous old-fashioned emerald ring within. Timeless and exquisite. Emily owned it, he declared. Give this to someone who teaches you what love means, she advised me. His eyes were full as he gazed at me. Ori, that's you. Before I could stop them, tears began to flow. Michelle, will you wed me? He inquired. Let's work together to create this life. I glanced at Ethan, who was deep asleep. Emily's benediction was at the ring. And to the man who had actually seen me, I smiled through tears and remarked, we're already family. However, absolutely. Let's formally announce it. Snow started to fall outside, enveloping our fresh start in quiet, gentle light. I want to thank everyone who is listening for sharing this adventure. Your assistance is greatly appreciated. Please click the subscribe button and become a member of our family if this story touched you, as we have more tales to share. And so it came to pass. I didn't have to yell, plead, or struggle in the end. The actual triumph was in creating a life of self-worth, love, and tranquility. The truth spoke for itself. The finest retaliation is sometimes none at all, just silently overcoming what attempted to shatter you. Remember that you may create boundaries, preserve your serenity, and still become stronger whether you're dealing with betrayal or family trauma. Have you experienced anything similar? I would love to hear your tale, so please share it in the comments. What benefits did leaving offer you that staying would never have?